Welcome to the Deal Champs podcast. We're back again. We've been gone for like 2-3 weeks. Been a little bit busy. Jason couldn't get a haircut, so he said no pod. I can't do the pod without the hair.
No captain of hair could be ready now. We're out.
Couldn't find his hat. He's out.
Couldn't find the hat. Hair was not done. We're not fucking having it. So the hair is done. Captain America's back. We got a very, very special guest today. Can't wait to introduce him. I came up with a good nickname for him. I came up with a good one. But real quick, we'll do some quick intros. My name is Stratton Brown. We scaled 2 different companies to 7 figures. Right now, we're on the 0 to $1 million challenge, wholesaling houses. And what else? Real estate changed my life because I had absolutely 0 life skills. I ended up working for a guy, and now I can make money with absolutely 0 skills. It's amazing. We have the master of hair, Mr. Jason Pritchard.
I'm back. It's good to be back on here with you guys. Excited to do this pod. Backstory on me, Jason Pritchard. I worked in corporate America for 15 years. Was very unhappy with my job. Going nowhere. I decided to burn all the boats in 2014 and start investing full-time in real estate since then. We have not looked back. Completed close to 500 deals. And I just did the math on this for some year-end planning. We own a real estate portfolio of just north of $17 million, dude. So I was pretty proud of that when I did all the math. So pretty cool.
Love it.
But really been amazing to see the 10-year run that we've gone on. And like we always say with our show, we want to transfer as much real-world experience to you guys that are listening in. So that way you can learn from our mistakes and get to where you want to go faster.
We have the Captain America, the man with 12 children, Mr. Dean Rogers.
What's up, guys?
The 13th on the way soon.
Dude, I got a 12-seater passenger van now just to get from point A to point B. What's up, guys? Your other co-host, Dean Rogers. Started my career in the NFL, then transitioned to corporate, then into real estate investing. Been doing that now for just over a decade in Central California. We've done over 700 plus deals. We have an 8-figure rental portfolio and coaching students how to get started in real estate with wholesaling. And then you guys can always connect with me at deanrogers.com.
And guys, don't forget to hit like and subscribe while you are watching this. Don't forget to follow everybody on social media. We have, I want to say, the master of business development, Shanae. Shanae, I think you are like the master. You have crushed business development for Resimpli.
I love it.
Thank you.
Give yourself a quick intro.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So I'm Shanae. I am Sharad's wingwoman, and I also get to keep you 3 guys in line from time to time. So I'm a network ninja and work for Resimpli. So glad to be here.
I love it. Then we have the man with not a lot of words. The master of SaaS is the name I'm going to call him.
I think
the master of SaaS. I think
your man's got a lot of sass.
I do.
Well, SaaS software. Sorry, but I get it. But I think he's one of the best entrepreneurs I've ever met. And we talk about this all the time. He takes feedback from all of the users, implements it within like 2 days. He's like, sorry, we didn't get to it, your feedback specifically this time, but it'll be done next week. I've never met anybody who cares as much about their customers as Sharad, the master of SaaS. Sharad, give yourself a quick intro.
Thank you guys for having me. Yeah, my name is Sharad. I am the owner and founder of Resimpli. Live out here in Carlsbad, California, not too far from Dean. I'm also an active investor. I've been investing for about 14 years, done over 750, 800 deals, own rental properties, own a property management company. Now I do about 20, 25 flips a year, all virtual in Northwest Indiana. So my project manager also lives in California in Corona. And then I have a couple of people in Philippines. So we actually flip in Indiana without having anyone in Indiana. So.
And Sharad, are we able to invest in Resimpli? Like, since we're affiliates, will we be able to invest in Resimpli?
Emotionally, spiritually, yes.
No. We talk about this regular, by the way, behind closed doors. We're like, how can we invest and get equity of Resimpli because we believe in it so much? Like,
thank you.
How can we ride this wave?
Yeah. Emotionally, spiritually, all investments.
Except all emotional investments.
All emotional, spiritual investments are most welcome. Yeah. But we've been blessed. I own 100% of the company. We've been blessed that it's cash flow positive. Kind of. It started out. I used to live in Chicago. I moved to Carlsbad in 2015. I was doing about 40, 50 flips a year back then. And when I moved there, I realized I didn't have any system processes. I realized how much inefficiency I had. So I'm like, okay, I gotta get some software. Podio was pretty much the only solution back then that people were using. And then I don't know if they still have it. Like you had to have Podio, then Globiflow, and then go out get all these bunch of different tools. I'm like,
oh man,
makes me want to throw up just hearing you say all this stuff
I think
right
I
now.
set
Dude.
up like an account on Podio for like 5 minutes. I'm like, oh no, I'm never going to use it.
I failed to implement it twice. I just saw how painful it was going to be.
Exactly. Yeah, no, though, then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to hire a couple of developers just to create something very specific for myself. So that's what I did. End of 16, early 17, hired a couple of people just to work for myself. And then like slowly it just kind of evolved from there to what it is now. I still use it, my entire team, from my bookkeeper, accountant, project manager, cold caller, my lead manager, acquisition, everyone is on Resimpli. The goal always was 3 things were important. It had to be an all-in-one software. It had to be super simple to use, hence the name Resimpli, and it had to give really good KPIs so we could make data-driven decisions. I come from an accounting background, so data was an important part of it.
I love it. And Sharad, can you code it all?
No, I have not.
I think that's epic. I think that's epic. Like you have a software company, but you can't code.
Yeah, thank God for that. Yeah. You know what's funny though? Last year, or early this year, like I went to ChatGPT. We're doing this implementation, switching from Plivo to Twilio. I went to ChatGPT and just kind of, gave it some commands to have some code. I sent it to my developer, like, Sharad, can you please just stop doing that? Just stop making your life difficult. Yeah, no, it's a whole different beast to do the coding and stuff. Yeah, no, I don't do that. Yeah.
So you said something, Sharad. Your goal with Resimpli was you wanted to be all in one, you wanted to be simple, and APIs. So when I first discovered Resimpli, it was by accident, and I think I've told you this story, but I just got done failing to implement Podio several times. Was really frustrated. I was using Google Sheets in my business this whole time leading up to actually getting a big boy CRM, and did that for like 5 years of my real estate investing career. And when I found Resimpli, it wasn't nearly what it is today, right? And everything that you've developed over the past several years. But at the time, I just saw all the things I could do just in one place. I could get rid of this tool and get rid of that tool and that tool. And like you said, it was just simple. Like, here's the seller's information. I can take action on that. I can call them, have all my communication in one place. And then the KPIs was the hook, line, and sinker for me, because I couldn't find any tools that could actually give me information about all the transactions and calls and everything that was taking place right there in the CRM. There was no KPIs that were built into it. And I remember you telling me that you had, been an accountant and you built it from that perspective.
Oh,
that everything
once you use it, you can tell it was built by an accountant. Yeah. It's just the way, like, we have some triggers that you cannot move a property to sold without telling us how much money you made. Right. Just like that's not possible to do. It's important. Like, people don't realize. By the way, when you start with the Google Sheets, it was a very colorful, pretty looking Google Sheet. It's the best Google Sheet. Yeah, it was pretty good. That's the best Google Sheet I've ever seen. But people don't realize, I think, and we notice this all the time, like, people generally tend to overcomplicate their business. Every real estate investor has this idea that they're super unique. The way they're running their business is unique. Nobody else is running it like that. Mm-hmm. I think that's like 10% of what you're doing. It's different, but 90% of what you're doing, it's all fundamentally the same. Like, you have 4 pillars of your business. You have data, marketing, sales, operations. Now, how you do, there might be some subtle differences in what you're doing with your data. You might be, instead of using PropStream, you might be using a different provider. You might be getting your data from the county or whatnot, but the fundamental is the same. You start with quality data, you market to them, you have good conversion cycle on the sales, and then once you complete the cycle, dispo, and then just manage your KPIs. Like that, those are the most important elements of the business. But people have this idea, no, as I'm scaling, I need something more complicated. I need something that, it just, they don't feel comfortable with the idea that something that they started with that they're doing 2 deals a month, that they can scale that to 20 deals a month. They just feel like as they're growing, they need something more complicated. So we wanted to come in and change that idea that, it's more difficult to create something that's super simple, whether it's software, whether it's like business operations or whatever it might be. It's easy to do something that's super complicated. You get sucked into it. You just keep doing it, and you don't even realize that you're running such an inefficient business. I'll give you an example. When I used to live in downtown Chicago, and I was flipping in Northwest Indiana, which is right outside of Chicago, about 30-40 minutes. That's where I own my rental properties. I have an office there. So back when I was living there, my plumber would call me. Let's say, we're flipping a house. He would call me and say, "Hey, Sharad, there's a leak." I would literally go from downtown Chicago, drive to my property, confirm there's a leak. I was like, all right, let's go ahead and what's the estimate? Once I moved to San Diego, I could not do that. I didn't have the option. I didn't even realize that I could have done the exact same thing that I was doing from San Diego. I could have done the exact same thing in Chicago. There was no need for me to be at that property. And that's when I started realizing what else is in my business that I'm running super inefficiently, because I was so close to the problem that I didn't even realize I had a problem. So just around that time, I read a book, E-Myth Revisit. I don't know if you guys have read Michael Gerber. That was a really good book that just really started changing how I looked at my business, systemizing and putting processes in it. I think for anybody that's used Resimpli, they can see that it's very process driven, right? It's built around, hey, you do these things consistently. If you do them, you are gonna get deals out of it. You're gonna get results out of it. So that was always the idea, that almost like creating a closed system built specifically for investors, not create something that you can go in, customize, and then you're like, holy shit, what did I customize?
Right.
For myself, I don't even know how this thing works. Go ahead, Jason.
I want to add this. I can't stress how important the point that Sharad is making. As your business becomes more complicated, the main system that you use needs to become easier, not more complicated.
Oh,
and we fell down that rabbit hole for so long. And we are I would consider relatively new users and believers in Resimpli. We started at the beginning of this year, and it consolidated our project management, separate software, all these Google Sheets, Podio, plus a lot of back-end accounting all into one shot. And as a business owner, I just need a high-level version consolidated into one place that I can look at very quickly and then delegate to my team, so then my team can get in the weeds and start doing a lot of the back-end stuff. And I have not seen a system from the user interface and all the complex stuff that happens in the background, make it so nice and neat for somebody like me that doesn't really want to get in the weeds, dude. I can just go in and look, see what I need to see, and then I'm out of there, dude. I love it.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you need to go in and, you have to go in and hire a tech person to fix your CRM or whatever, then your CRM did not do a good enough job of creating a quality product. That's how we look at it. You are investors, your value add, your revenue generating activity is closing deals. The point is not for someone to be in Resimpli for the most amount of time possible. Yes, lead manager, acquisition managers, they will need to be in, but you as the business owner, you should not really have to be in the system. I'm doing about 20, 25 flips. I think this year we'll do about 23. I have not been to Indiana in the last 4 or 5 years. I've not been inside of any of my properties in 5 years at least. I log into Resimpli myself for 5-10 minutes. I look at the very high level data, and we do direct to seller marketing, direct mail, PPC, PPL. We're doing all of this, and I'm still able to do 20, 25 flips, manage all of that. So I think people have a limiting belief where they limit themselves on what's possible. And Jason, you're 100% right. As your business scales, you need something that's simpler. You don't want your complexity of your business, of the systems you're using, to scale with the size of your business. We run a pretty we have a pretty decent sized company for Resimpli. And Shanae, it's funny, Shanae is the minority in our company at Joker. She's the only white person in our entire company. We have a US-based company. She is the only white person in our entire company. My assistant, who's in New Jersey, she's black, and then I am, and she's the only W2 person also. And then everyone else is overseas. So it's kind of funny, but we've scaled that business and keeping it super simple. We use, one system that everybody goes in and uses, and that's pretty much it. Like, we just do that as we scale. We've been using it for 3-4 years, and we scaled with that system. So that's the part that's very important for people to keep in mind, that as you scale, you want to simplify your systems and processes in your business.
Can we talk for just a second about the fact that Sharad is literally running his entire real estate investing business truly 100% virtually? I mean, how many people can really say that? That he hasn't stepped foot in a property in 5 to 6 years. I don't think that's
and I don't exaggerate. Like, if I'm spending more than 5 minutes or 10 minutes a day in my house flipping business, something has gone wrong. That's where I would get involved. Like, it's something has gone wrong. Like, last time I did was a couple of weeks ago. We had on Sunday, we found out one of the closings we had on Monday got canceled because the lender did not approve. So that's kind of where I got involved with the agent. I'm like, okay, what can we do? But otherwise, if I'm spending more than 5-10 minutes in my business, like, something somewhere has gone wrong, that's where I need to get involved in.
I love it. Sharad, bro, I think, again, we can't hype you up as an entrepreneur enough because of how much you care. How have you gotten your team to be so good at shipping updates? Because all of the software we've ever used, no one ever listens to us. And then, like, man, it'd be really nice to have this. And then it may get done in a year, and it's like one little thing. And you take feedback from everybody, and your team is so fast with it, to where if I want something like, hey, this would be a good idea, I could either text you, Shanae, or Dean, and then it'll probably be implemented within the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing, I think it comes from, like, kind of what my personality is. Like, I look at Resimpli as my third kid. It's just like, when you start a business, I'm sure you guys feel the same way about your real estate business, your portfolio. Like, when you put so much effort into it, so much emotional effort, money into it, like, it's hard not to feel like this is like part of you. And I tell my support team that every single customer, and Shanae and I talked about this also, same thing about the partners that we're working with, it applies to everything in our company, that, like, every single customer that we're working with, we treat it as this is the only customer that we have. And we tell our team, like, hey, just work with this customer like they are the only customer, and our entire livelihood depends on this particular customer. Like, if you have that mindset, like, you're just going to go above and beyond. And then the same thing on our, we talked to our marketing team. Like, our goal should not be how many emails we're sending. We talked about this in a marketing meeting yesterday. Like, the goal should not be how many emails we're sending out, how many people we're getting on our email list and whatnot. The goal should be, we should add more value to investor community than anyone ever thought possible. Like, if you start with that mindset and just work with that, everything else will take care of itself. And then I have this quote on my, like, a canvas on my office. It says, "So be so good that you can't be ignored." I think Steve Martin said it. Like, that's the mindset we said. Like, if we are just so good,
I like that.
Yeah. That, like, we can. I mean, there's some affiliates and partners, I won't name anyone, that we had been wanting to work with a long time, and they would just not return our messages. And they're like, hey, Shanae, let's just be so good at what we're doing that just, like, we absolutely cannot be ignored. And then we would have those affiliates reaching out to us because their community, even though they're talking about something else, like promoting another product, their community would use us. And then they would reach out and be like, hey, our community is, like, using you guys, even though I'm promoting a different product, I might as well use. Like, even Shanae had a conversation with another, like, big time coach, and someone from her team who's actually running the program talked about some other product. And this promoter was like, no, let's just go with this product because that's the one I have faith in. So, like, I mean, just, like, that's what I keep going back to, is, like, our goal should be, like, be so good at everything we're doing that just nobody can ignore, whether it comes to our customer support, like the relationship that, Shanae maintains. Like, what she does is absolutely amazing. Like, some of the ideas that she comes up with, it's amazing. And then goes down to our marketing team also. Like, just add more value than anyone thought possible. Like, just start with that. We don't have to send hundreds of emails. If you send one quality email, that's better than 100 average emails that we'll ever send.
That's 100% true of my experience, because I've known Dean forever, and Dean's been with you guys forever. And Dean was always like, dude, I'm on Resimpli. And I was just banging my head against the desk trying to make Podio work for years. And I knew that I needed to do something, but it was just like, I didn't want to deal with the pain of like migrating over to a new CRM, because that sucks, dude. And it's a lot of work. And it was just, ultimately, I was just like, dude, we're doing this. I knew eventually I was going to go over there. And when we did it, it was just great. It was this incredible transition. My team loves it. And your CRM is literally the backbone. It's the spine of your business. So you cannot function in the type of business that we have without this type of software. And if this doesn't work, then it's going to have a negative effect, because your team members are not going to use it. And then if your team members aren't using it, then leads aren't getting followed up. You're not doing deals. And it just creates this like cascading effect. And so
100%.
Everything starts with a good CRM. Go ahead.
So I just wanted to piggyback off of what you guys were saying with me not having found any other software company out there that I work with, that I use on a regular basis, that I have this type of relationship with. Because, Sharad and I are like two little nerds text messaging each other back and forth, sending Loom videos, like this idea, that idea. And Sharad uniquely has found the ability to make it feel so personal, because I know I'm not the only one he's talking to, and he's getting feedback from, dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of people. And I feel like I'm getting my own unique experience. And to me, that's special. And it makes me want to invest that much more time into seeing the product do well. And I believe in it. That's why we were not joking about wanting to find a way to get equity in the business, because we are passionately in love with it. And I will piggyback off of what Jason was saying. Like, our business at the time we first met, Sharad, was not nearly at the scale we are now. And a big part of that was because we didn't have the ability to execute as a business. We just flat out could not run it like a real business. We were, running it like a mom and pop shop. And once we finally got a CRM and started to put people in place, because we had tools to be able to do that, now we're scaling, and, the sky is the limit. Like this month, we're on fire. We're halfway through the month. We almost have a deal a day. We have 16 deals for the month. We have
Dean talking about those KPIs. Here goes Dean talking about those sexy KPIs.
I should be getting equity in Dean's business. I don't know what he's talking about. I need equity in his business.
No, you got the reoccurring model. That's the way to do it.
Right.
But
I don't know. We have our own set of issues. I shared like this one investor yesterday. It was like,
oh my God.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't be able to be doing any of this without that, just because so many things will fall through the cracks. So kudos for you, and everything that you do to make it special for the users, and exciting as well, because man, from when I first started to what it is now, it's night and day. And I was just as passionate about it then as I am now. So I'd love to transition and get into what Resimpli does, because someone might be listening to this and be thinking, man, okay, Resimpli sounds great. Let me go Google it, see what it's all about. But let's break down, like, what does Resimpli do for your business? Like, what are some of the actual features and functionality that you can use Resimpli for? Why is it important? If you want to just kind of touch on some of the key ones, and then I know some of those we definitely want to dive more into.
Yeah. So like going back to kind of what I talked earlier, if you look at like what successful investors are doing, they have like 4 main pillars in business. They have the data, marketing, sales, and operations. So I'll kind of just break the feature set in terms of that. On the data side, you're like basically getting a list of people that you want to market to your prospects. So you can, in Resimpli, you can use list stacking for that. We have driving for dollars to that to build your data list. And then on the marketing side, now you have your list of people. Then on the marketing side, you want to start basically converting these prospects into leads. So you can have websites that you can get within Resimpli. It's built on WordPress, so you can get websites. You can call them, text them, email your prospects. You can also send direct mail to that. So that would be on your outbound marketing side of it, right? Of course, we On the inbound, you can do PPC, PPL through the websites that, or PPC through the website that we have, SEO through the websites that we have. And then other features on the marketing side of it, like speed to lead. If you're doing inbound marketing, it like connects you with, from the time someone submits a form on your website to the time you're actually speaking with the seller who submits the form within 30 seconds. So that would be on the marketing side. Then on the sales side, basically converting these leads that you have in your business into deals. Those would be, again, like having follow-ups, drip campaign, which, you know, you guys used to just automate the follow-up sequences, calling, texting, reminding you to call, text, email, these sellers that you have on your pipeline, just so that you have, you know, 60-70% of your deals that you're going to get are going to come from long-term follow-up. So we make sure we simplify that as much as possible, automate that process for you. And then like calling, texting, you know, you can store your files, you can do e-sign, all on the sales side of it. So once you have a deal under contract, then comes the operation side of it, which is the dispo side. So now with the recent update we made, you can basically pull a list of buyers, you know, fix and flip, landlords, start calling them, texting them, you know, email, all from within Resimpli. So once you've done the dispo of the deal, you know, then it's the other side of it, like keeping track of your KPIs, which in my opinion is the most important part of the business, not the sexiest part of the business, but the most important part of the business. So keeping track of KPIs, like generally, typically when you look at an investor business, it's more or less a marketing business. The better you are at marketing, the more money you're going to make. So tracking your KPIs, how much money you're spending on each marketing channels, how much money you're making, and optimizing for the most effective marketing channels, you can do that through our KPIs built in.
I mean,
yeah.
Jason, you're muted.
Yeah.
The number one thing that nobody gets is your goal is to build a business, not build a CRM. And then when we had Podio, we were in the weeds building that shit like every night, because you're too cheap to hire on a developer who can actually do it. And then to build out all of those features takes so much time. Something's going to break when a new update comes out.
Exactly.
Like there's all, like even for like the drip campaigns, I remember setting all that up. It took me weeks to get that done. And then we had to make sure to set up another dialer system inside of Podio with smartphone. We had to build it out so it didn't break and everything else. So now like our sales team can just use the dialer inside Resimpli, connect it with the list stacker. Hey, all these no contacts for 7 days of hell. Just hop in, click a button, and you're good to go.
Exactly.
To where we don't have to think about any of that anymore. And you have all the speed delete and everything else, to where we had a consulting client the other day using Podio. I was like, bro, just stop. It's not worth it. Hop onto Resimpli. It'll completely simplify your business.
Yeah. I think that's what, go ahead, Jason, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I don't think people understand how much efficiency they're losing by not having everything consolidated in one place. And at the beginning, your business is very fragmented. You've got Google Docs, you've got Google Sheets, you've got a CRM, you've got something to do project management, you've got another thing to do accounting. And when every single time you have to come out of one system to go to another system to grab data, to put that back in the original system, and then try to get everything to sync up to give you something accurate, 9 times out of 10, it's not going to work. And what you should be doing is just focusing, like you said, on finding more deals, right? And I just got back. One of the things that I like the most is that from a new lead to a closed deal, and for us, about 40% of our volume is still fix and flip. It lives in Resimpli all the way until the end. Even on our fix and flip projects, our project management team is still going in there. Everything is in there, and it's all in one place. And I just got back from Collective Genius, and I feel like my biggest takeaway from that meeting was that the people that are operating at the highest level are focused on operational efficiency. How do they become more efficient, and how do they move the needle in their business through becoming operationally efficient? And this tool is the tool that allows you to do that. And I think it's just, there is no more winging it. There's no, and I saw this on Ryan Dossey's, who is another user of Resimpli. I got on one of his emails, and it was coming out about who's going to be successful in 2025. And number one is there's no more winging it anymore. There is no more like throw a bunch of mail out and throw it against the wall and see what sticks, especially in California, guys. Like most of the people that are watching are investing in California. And this is frankly like one of the more difficult markets to find success in for lots of different reasons. And so you need something that is going to be able to kind of house all this stuff in your business so you can become more effective as an operator?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's this saying like, generally like marketing, hey, I know my marketing is like half of my marketing is working, the other half is not. I don't know which half is it that's not working. So that's the problem that we're essentially trying to solve for investors. Like typically investors would spend, like they would generally have marketing or payroll would be their biggest expense in the business, right? Mm-hmm. So if you can be efficient with your marketing and payroll, any money that you save, it's going directly into your net profit. 100%. So if you're doing like what you mentioned, Jason, like if you're doing direct mail, for example, right? I'm using direct mail because that generally is like the number one lead source for investors. If you're using direct mail in your business, and let's say you're spending $10,000 and you're making 30,000, you're like, this is great. Every dollar that I spend, making 3x. And by the way, like everyone should expect to make minimum 3x on their marketing. Anything less than 3, then I would look at a different marketing channel. Anything over 5x, you're doing really good. Just double down on it. But let's say if you pull a list of absentee, probate, let's say just these two, and then combine them, $10,000 you spend, you make 30. Like, this is great. But then the question would be, was it the absentee list that made you money, or was it the probate list? Let's say you only have 2,000 people on your probate and you have 8,000 on your absentee. And then you realize, if you dig deeper into the data, that it's actually the probate list that I spent 2,000 on that I made 30,000. So your true ROI is not 3x, it's actually 15x. I mean, again, I'm using like exaggerating the numbers, but you guys get the idea that the more you can break your marketing into different lists that you have, the more insight you will have. And you may realize that actually I just need to mail to this probate list and I don't even have to worry about my absentee list. And imagine if you have this data about your business, and let's say if you're looking to either add a new marketing channel in your business or you're looking to going into a new market, you have the data to prove that, hey, at least based on the data in my market, if I'm going to a similar market, I should go with probate because I have data to prove my rate of return is much higher on probate than any other list that I have. And then start with that. You're on mute.
Muted again, Brody.
Yeah.
Most people are making instinctual decisions when it comes to this type of stuff, right? Because we come in and we're just grinders. At the beginning, we just hustle and we can just, like, through sheer force of will, make things happen. And then it feels like, oh, this list is working or that's list working, right? And without having data to back up the instinct that you developed, it's very hard to make strategic decisions in your business. And I think that was something that I know that I relied on my instinct for way too long. And as soon as we made the investment to get really granular on tracking all this stuff, my business started to level up.
Yeah, and then I think other thing is, like, people focus so much on like just the vanity numbers. Yes, it's important to grow your top line number. You want to get to like 7-figure, 8-figure, whatever your goal might be. But that should not happen. That scalability should not happen at the expense of your net profit. You want to make sure if you're scaling your business that you're keeping your net profit percentage at least to a minimum number of like 25-30%. Like, what's the point of having a 7-figure business when you're only making 50,000 on it? Would you rather have that business, or would you rather have a super lean, efficient business of $700,000-$800,000 and you make 300 on that net? I would much rather have that business because I don't have all these other overheads in my business that I have to worry about. I think that's where people just get so focused on their top line number and they're just trying to grow that number. They don't realize that it's coming at the expense of all the extra headache, extra overhead that they have, and they're not actually making any money from that business.
Me and Dean were talking about this last night as I was driving to go do something else. And I think another thing with Resimpli, they give you so much data to where it goes in what Jason said, like operational efficiencies. Like, it'll give you, hey, it took us X amount of time to get to a lead from when it came in. Yeah. Because like those minutes when you're doing inbound marketing is a huge deciding factor on whether or not you convert that deal or not. Right. And so that one little tweak of like, hey, we need to go from 3 minutes to 1 minute on our speed to lead can be the difference between a lot of money when you're doing lots of deals. Yeah. Like, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars if you just cut off 2 minutes on that. And Resimpli gives you all that insight.
Exactly. Like, imagine if like someone who's doing, like, a lot of investors doing inbound marketing, like PPC, PPL. So what happens in that is, like, just put yourself in the shoes of the homeowner who's filling out this form. They're filling this form out, and that's when they have the highest motivation. Like, something in them triggered them that they went to Google, said, sell my house fast, and they went and filled a form on your website. Now, there's a very high chance that they are going to go and do the same thing on other websites. Imagine, like, if you can talk to them within 30 seconds of them filling the form, 2 things are going to happen. One, you're talking to them when they have the highest motivation. Two, you're preventing them from going to other websites, filling out, because you're solving the problem for them. You're like talking to them about the issues that they have, the problems that they have, and they don't need to go speak with someone else. Like people don't realize, like even if you wait for like 5 minutes, I'm not exaggerating, like there's a chance that
It's over.
they're going to
It's
go
over.
fill out 2-3 other forms, and they're going to even forget about you. They're even going to forget about you. They're going to go on to someone else. And imagine like someone filling the form, getting a call within 30 seconds, you have them on the phone, like you catching them at the highest motivation and preventing them from going and talking to that. Like to what Stratton was saying, if you can like have these sort of efficiencies in your business, I mean, of course, I want people to use Resimpli, but whatever you use, if you want to make sure you have these automations built in, because if you can get one extra deal, that's going to pay for the system or software that you have for years to come. I made like 65, 70 on a deal that was on a follow-up sequence for 400 days. We ended up flipping that property, and we went like after all the expenses, my project manager, everyone spent, like I net made 65, 70 on it. It came from follow-ups. Exactly. We didn't do anything fancy. We were just calling them and texting them every other month. That's all. The whole point of this is like you want to stay on the radar of these sellers, and when they're ready to sell, you want them to call you or text you, give you an opportunity to make an offer. But that's only going to happen if you're going to stay in front of them. People get bombarded with so much information these days that if you're not in front of them, they're going to forget about you. They're going to move on to someone else. So that's where like the importance of follow-up, getting in touch with people when they have the motivation, when they're ready to sell, that's when you want to talk to them at that point.
And I think for drip campaigns, we all use Omni Drip is who it does. But you can, at this point, if you are good enough with ChatGPT, you could have ChatGPT write you out a 400-day sequence.
Yeah, I highly recommend Omni Drip. Paul, he's great. Like they can definitely help you build out. They have a lot of customers from Resimpli that use them. So yeah, they're super familiar with like kind of how to get that dialed in for you.
Sharad, when are we going to have a fully functional AI bot that can message these people, like to where, talking about efficiency, I don't need to have 2 staff members messaging people. The bot can do it.
We're working on that. We're coming out soon. Yeah.
Dean's where do you think, here's another question in regards to AI, since we're going down that road now, where do you see AI for investors that have our business model, right? Where do you see AI moving the needle most? Is it like lead generation? Is it follow up with existing leads in your system? Is it something else? Like how, I mean, I know you're pretty in tune with this.
That's a great question. Some of that depends on some regulations also, right? FCC is coming out with new regulations, like that's going to take effect end of next month. That like all these PPL providers, it'll be interesting to see kind of how it impacts their business, that all these PPL providers cannot just get a lead and then sell it to
blast it.
Yeah, exactly. Now there needs to be one-on-one consent. So, and then there's some regulations coming around AI also, that you cannot have, if you have AI making calls or doing some follow-up, that you have to basically disclose. So some of these things are like these laws, these regulations are changing in real time. But where I see AI making the biggest impact is in automation, where kind of what Stratton was saying, if you need, like basically AI can come in and replace a person or two for you in your business. That's where the AI is going to add the most value, right? Where to me, what I see AI doing is like reducing my anxiety, getting rid of my anxiety, basically telling me that every single lead that I have, something is going on. Like if I get that peace of mind, like I feel really good about it. Like knowing that I have absolutely, like we have this thing called abandoned lead. Like to me, that should be 0. Everyone should be following up with a lead every single day. As long as that is happening in my business, I get peace of mind that we're following up with these leads. Now, the more you can automate this process, that's where AI adds the most value. Now with AI having like taking over your text and stuff, that part, like technically it's easy to develop, but the challenge that comes in, that we have to keep in mind is like, if we have this functionality that we open it up for anyone, no matter how much we tell people, hey, these are the best practices, don't use them for spamming, and so people are still going to use that. So we want to make sure that we're not giving certain tools to people and giving them like God and putting some guardrails around it. So people, no matter how much we tell investors, we know what kind of people we are, we're just going to go like start spamming people, and then we want to make sure, and then it comes back to us. No matter how much we tell someone, hey, don't do this, don't spam, or don't do cold texting. People will still do that, and if their texts are not going through, they'll still come back to us and say, hey, why are my texts not going through? And we tell them, because we told you, if you spam, it's not going to get delivered. So we want to build AI with some guardrails around it so people can use it, get the most efficiency out of it without getting themselves in trouble.
As far as AI, and we could talk about the other stuff, will you be able to have a bot? Because we use you guys start to finish for everything except investor lift text messages. When a text goes out, will that bot be able to conversate with that buyer? Will it get to a point where we have that or no?
With the buyer, yes.
It's where we send out mass texts inside Resimpli for our buyers, and we have someone calling them. And so if that person responds, our bot will be able to handle that.
Yes. In 2025, yes.
So I have a question for all of you guys, because I'm not an active investor, but obviously I hang out with quite a few of you.
I know a really good coach who can help you get your first deal.
Yeah, there's like 3 of them right here. Yeah. But for the AI stuff, and we actually were talking about this at Boardroom a couple weeks ago. We know that this business is a very relationship driven business. Do you think, I obviously see the benefits of the efficiency with AI, but how do you think that efficiency, or will that efficiency of your sellers or buyers conversing with a bot, do you think that's going to negatively impact your business at all, because it takes away that human connection?
I think there's some ways. Yeah, go ahead, Stratton.
People have fake AI girlfriends, and they can't, people fall in love with AI bots, or you have random people messaging people on OnlyFans, and they make billions of dollars doing this, and it's a bot. So if that can happen, and that person supposedly replaced their girlfriend, we can have someone step in and fill the gap until an actual team member can step in. And all they have to do is just read the notes. And there's an AI summary that you can get an entire summary and everything built out really fast.
Even kind of what Stratton is saying, putting some guardrails around. Let's say if you have a seller on an automated follow-up sequence, right? The seller replies back. AI doesn't necessarily has to send a text. It can just summarize everything and say, hey, based on the conversation, I think this is what you should say. And then you can choose to change it or not, right? If AI can even get you to that point where it's not taking over because at least right now, AI is not 100% there. It's going to make up some mistakes, right? And you don't want that to happen on a deal that could have potentially been a high 5 or 6 figure deal. But if you have some guardrails where the AI summarizes everything and writes a text message, and then just gives you, hey, this is what you could send based on the conversation, and then you choose whether you want to send it or not, I think that's a huge win. You just have to press a button and it just sends it. That's where the efficiency comes in. Another thing, going back to, if the AI can tell you, hey, this is the lead that you haven't talked to, which you can do based on abandoned leads, and you just have no anxiety about any lead that's falling through the crack. I think, to me, that's a huge win. Knowing every single lead is being worked on. If you have that, I think that's a huge win.
This is how I know Sharad is a real estate business owner, because of the anxiety about leads not being worked. Because I know we all share that same thing. It's dude, I got friggin' 2,500 leads in some type of long-term nurture thing, and I'm constantly oh my god, dude, is the drip on? Is my team calling them? Is this happening? Did we follow up with this person? And to Shanae's point, I think at least right now, like Strat said, all I'm doing is just bridging the gap. That's it. And no matter how we like to slice it, putting a human body on 2,000 leads and expecting them not to miss anything, I just don't they're never going to be perfect. It just is what it is. So I would rather risk the AI going in there and maybe messing up something as far as a response or something like that, to know that they're hitting every single lead and warming up the ones to get them to human body. And I've seen some use cases where you cannot tell that it's AI on the other end, actual conversations. It's a human person talking to AI. They have no idea. They're answering them, overcoming all the objections. And so in the most immediate future, I'm excited for that. And then eventually at some point, I'm sure it'll progress.
I mean,
into
even look
something
at
else.
like where AI is right now compared to like 6 or 12 months ago. Like imagine where it will be 6 to 12 months from now. So
It'll be
if you
crazy.
like this is something you're not going to get to the point where, okay, this is how it is, right? It's just going to always keep evolving. And then there's going to be some laws, regulations around it. So you have to keep in mind that you keep that in mind and don't get overexcited and don't invest too much into it where you're like, holy crap, like I didn't realize this was, this could backfire in this way.
Yeah.
So I think that's something you have, especially for guys like you have like a very established business. You don't want like FTC or FCC, whatever it is, to come after you, TCPA, about some like things that you're doing that you're not supposed to. So that I feel like it's our responsibility as a company to make sure that if we're unleashing a tool, that we're putting some guardrails where people are not going to get themselves in trouble with that.
Bro, I love it. So we have the AI bot that's came out, the AI call summaries. Guys, Resimpli has one to where we officially no longer take notes.
Yeah.
Everything just gets there's no need for notes. Just hit the button. It'll be fine. And then that way your notes are there on like a pad if you're reviewing something like you're actually selling them. But if there's no notes in our CRM, if you need something, click on the button, it'll load and you can keep going.
Yeah.
Talk to us, Sharad, about, I'm really excited about the new cash buyer functionality. I actually saw that in some of our lead details. I know we are a big fan of Investor Base. I don't know how much you can talk about this, or if you can right now. I'm hoping that you can. But what's on the horizon as far as helping with Dispo, finding buyers, and using some of the other tools that are out there in combination with Resimpli to help making dispositions?
Yeah, so what we've done with the cash buyers tab is like any property that you have an address for now, you can just click a button. It gives you list of buyers, investor buyers, basically anyone that's done fix and flip or buy and hold. So it'll give you a list of all of those properties. And we use a couple of different data providers on the back end to give you, provide you that. You get their phone number and email address, so you can call them, text them, and email them from within Resimpli. So you get about like 80 to 100 buyers on each property, and then they're always there part of that specific property. So what we're noticing more and more investors do it, let's say, especially in like, in a market that you're not super familiar with. So before you put a property under contract, what we're noticing some of the investors do is like they will run that list, they will start calling the buyers. They'll say, hey, I have this potential property, without giving specific details, that it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. What do you think? It's a 2,000 square feet. What would you pay for something like that? And then they're kind of reversing into how much they want to get their property under contract for. So that's kind of what you want to look into. Is like for us, like we're assigning 2 contracts, 1 contract on Friday and 2 on Monday. And we just found our buyers from that. We just like call them and say, hey, would you be interested? And then that's how so now what we're doing is like, we have another property that we don't want to buy for ourselves as a fix and flip because it had some major foundation issues. And then we just stay away from that. So I told my acquisition manager, Jay, I said, hey, why don't you get the property under contract, run the cash buyers, right? Call them and see what someone would be. It's in a really nice neighborhood, really good part of town. And then why don't you call these buyers and ask them what they would be willing to pay for a property? It's in Crown Point, 3-bedroom, 2-bath with basement that you can finish, and then see what they're willing to pay, right? Give them like just general neighborhood. They'll get a sense, and then we can make an offer based on that. Even though if we don't want to close, but at least we have an idea what other investors would be willing to pay, and then we can come up with our offer price based on that. So that is giving us like confidence in going into a new market that we're not super familiar with, like going into a neighboring county. Like, hey, if we're not familiar, if you want to wholesale, let's just call these 3-4 buyers and see what they would be willing to pay. So at least we get a sense of kind of where the buyers are right now, and then we can make our offer based on those numbers. So that's making it super valuable for us.
Love it.
Just the
Yeah,
fact
Jason, you were just talking about the operational efficiency, right? The idea of taking it from start to finish all in one tool is pretty nuts. And so I know from what I've been seeing Resimpli doing, being able to bring the buyers into Resimpli, then be able to communicate with those buyers, right? Review their offers, accept an offer, and send them a contract
Have it
and
all
get the whole
tracked,
deal signed,
bro.
like,
Yeah.
and have it all tracked, all the KPIs, track which buyers are on which deals, who are buying
Because that's
most of your
huge.
deals. Like we're trying to push everything that we possibly can into Resimpli, down to just like keeping track of the people we're networking with and having communication with. Like every single thing can be tracked and done in Resimpli, and then all the things you guys are doing based on the feedback we're giving to continue to make that even better is what's so darn cool about it.
Yeah, I'm excited. We have a big update coming next month, in like 3 or 4, like end of Jan before that. So I'm excited about that. With kind of taking the feedback of what investors like you guys have been giving us, adding some more automations. The less you have to be in the software, the more deals you can do. That's the goal. Like our goal is not for you to be in the software like 8 hours a day, 9 hours a day. Our goal is for you guys to be in the software for least amount of time possible and get you the max deals you possibly can. That's our goal. So that's what we want to do. Like add some more automations. For example, we have an automation coming. So anytime you move a lead from one station to another, you can automatically push that to a drip. So you don't even have to do that. You can say anytime a lead goes to warm lead or offer made or whatnot, it automatically goes into a drip. And then we're adding some additional triggers as part of the drip. So you can have, if a drip campaign finishes steps, then you can have it go on to another drip. You can change the status. You can add tags, remove tags, like just some of those more automation. So then you have less things that you need to do. Like the system is taking care of your, of all your leads, and then you get an email that we send out every day to the account owners, and you can choose who else it tells you how many abandoned leads that you have. Like just for me to be able to see I have 0 abandoned leads, and then it just gives me peace of mind that every single lead in my pipeline, someone is working on that. Like for me as an investor, like it's the anxiety that I don't ever want to have in my business.
Sharad, with the drip campaigns and the AI, are we going to get to a point to where the drip campaign's running, someone responds, the bot can respond, and then the drip campaign continues on?
We have an AI built out where it will reply to text messages, but we're making an update to it next year. We have a cool AI feature coming, which I'm not allowed to speak right now, but Dean has been helping us test it out. I think you guys made a couple of tests for us also. So we're working on that. That's going to come out next week also. And then just like building more on top of that, which kind of starting what you're saying, just to be basically AI to take over your conversation. It will, like that's also coming. Basically, if someone replies back, the AI will send an appropriate response back to that seller based on how you want the AI to respond back.
I love it.
Yeah,
and then
so
how
like
does
AI is a big push for us for next year? It's a big
You want to take a question, Strat?
Yeah. How does this differ from other CRM platforms as far as AI integration?
I'm not sure about other CRMs. Honestly, we don't. It sounds very naive or very stupid, but we don't look at any other CRMs. Like I just feel like it kind of, like, we have a clear vision of what we're doing, like what we want to do. AI is a big part of what we're doing next year. So we don't like. I don't look at any other CRM. Like people will switch over from other software. Like we had one investor like, "Hey, how are you different from Salesforce?" I said, "I have no idea. I've never used Salesforce. I know we have a bunch of people that switch over from Salesforce. I can connect you with someone, but if you ask me, I never go look at any other competitor software because I feel like I don't want it to influence vision of kind of what we have with what we want to work on." But as far as AI stuff is concerned, like we have a lot of automations, that you can trigger to get. At the end of the day, like one thing you have to keep in mind is like step away from it. And what's the point of all this is to help you close more deals. So the more we can automate the follow-up sequences, the more we can have, AI or whatever automations we have take over and do some tasks for you, so you don't have to do. That's kind of what we want Resimpli to do. Like just like instead of AI, yeah, that's kind of how we look at.
You guys want to go over the stats he posted about last week, and we can just share our screen and go over them? Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see if this looks right. Let me know how this looks.
I'm
Good.
going to hit this question real quick from Eric. Do any of you have experience doing software engineering, or did you outsource that aspect and focus primarily on real estate? I want to speak for Sharad, since he's the main attraction. You said it yourself. You're not an engineer. You don't know how to code, and you outsourced it all from the beginning, which, from my perspective, the fact that you have all the insights and ability to execute so fast.
I come from a very exciting world of accounting. That's my background. I come from very exciting.
Hey, don't talk dirty on this podcast. So, there might be some kids listening to this talking dirty about accounting.
My wife is an accountant. She's a director of accounting at a biotech company. So I have mad respect for accountants. Yeah.
Oh, jeez. All right. So we're going to go over, I thought this was like the best post ever, because real estate is now starting to get like operationally efficient to where this is where everyone's moving. Like Ryan said, we can't fly by night anymore. Like, you got to have your shit absolutely dialed. So this total phone numbers that are clean, this is saying, hey, all the numbers inside Resimpli, 98% of them are clean, and you guys maintain the cleanliness, correct?
So what we mean by that is, like, when you call someone, when you get a call, a lot of time it shows up as spam likely, potential spam. So we make sure we take all the numbers, tens of thousands of numbers, and we get them scrubbed against spam likely. So 98% of our numbers are clean. 2% of number will show up as spam likely, but every week we're getting them cleaned up.
All right. Next stat.
Yeah.
Leads to deal conversion. This is crazy. This is crazy. It looks like your number one cold calling was your guys' number one deal source for all your clients, correct?
Direct mail.
Direct mail.
Direct mail. Cold calling was number 2. It was number 2 in terms of revenue. I forgot. Yeah, I know direct mail was number 1 in terms of total deals, and direct mail was also number 1 in terms of total revenue generated.
But for investors looking at this will give you an idea of like where you're at and like where the holes in your company are. Leads to deal conversion is 66 leads to a deal. I'm sure cold calling is like driving that up drastically.
Exactly. So this is like, we'll post some more numbers at the end of the year. I spoke at Boardroom Mastermind, so I had to get something ready, but we'll have more numbers by each marketing channel also. But this is, yes, you're absolutely right. This is for all the lead sources. Like cold calling, SMS would be much higher number, versus PPC, inbound marketing, this number would be a lot lower.
This is such good context, though, because especially for new people, right? They severely underestimate the amount of people that they need to speak to in order to do a deal. So just look at that top line if you're new. Basically, what that's saying is you need to speak to 66 leads on average in order to get one of those leads to convert, right? And these aren't conversations with sellers over the phone. These are people that you actually speak to that you qualify as a lead. And most people go cold call for 30 days and they talk to 20 people and then they realize like, well, this isn't working. And it's not that it's not working. It's just you need to do so much more output. So if you need to recalibrate some expectations, these are really good metrics to follow. So then that way you have some standards and you can really start tracking internally with yourself, right? It's like, how many leads have I spoken to? And does this fall in line with the industry standards and the industry averages? This is really good.
Would you guys,
how many offers you have to make to get a deal?
Exactly. Yeah. And all the way down, right? How many appointments do you need to go? So if you get told no on 8 appointments, look at the stats right here. It says you need to go on 12 of them, right? You need 12 leads in order to go on appointment. And then you need to go 9 leads to get an offer. And then you need to make 7 offers to get a deal. So you're getting told no 6 times, typically on average, before you get a yes on a contract. Exactly. So if you got told no 3 or 4 times, you just haven't talked to enough people. You know what I mean? Exactly. And so just use this as guidelines. This is really, really good information for those of you guys that are new that need a framework to follow to keep yourself accountable.
Yeah.
I think the dead leads is a solid number across the board, though. Like 42%, 43% seems like it's typically what I've seen.
Yeah. Again, I mean, it's like, now that part is subjective because some people, will never put a lead into dead lead until the property is sold. So it's like, just take that with a grain of salt. It's very subjective on what some people might consider a dead lead. Like we have, like for us, if someone says, I'm not interested, take me off the list, we move them to dead lead. But there's some other investors, hey, if they still have a property to sell, I'm not going to move them to dead lead.
All right, we got to pound through these. We got a hard stop at 345. Average profit, fix and flip, wholesale double close, wholesale, retail listing, novations were 21, assignments were 17.
Yeah. Yeah, so you would think that people that are flipping are making a lot more money, which kind of is in line. And double close again, typically you would double close a deal when you have bigger margins, so you don't want your buyer to know wholesale. And we have some agents also, so when we looked at it, we're like, oh, this kind of makes sense. I would expect fix and flip to be number one because people are taking more risk, so they're making more money on average.
Exactly. Top 5 deal sources by average revenue foreclosure. I thought that was interesting. It's number one with
Number
33.
one.
MLS number 2 though.
That was
crazy.
really interesting. MLS is
right.
crazy.
Yeah, I mean, again, some people might be pulling deals down from MLS and then flipping them, so that kind of contributes.
Yeah.
And then these are also, they must have, each of these lead sources must have been 50 deals minimum. We had some like outlier where someone like you used YouTube marketing and they did like 30 deals. It had really high average profit, but we wanted to set the benchmark. They must have, like, each deal source must have had at least 50 deals completed in the year. Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, next one. Lead source, direct mail, number 1. Cold calling, number 2. Pay per lead, number 3. PPC, which I thought was crazy. I thought that would be reversed. Number 4.
A lot of people, I think a lot of people use pay per lead just because it's like you can be up and running in a day. I think with PPC,
there is no lag.
There's no lag. With PPC, you need management fee. So I think that's where it makes
and you
it
can't quite turn it on and off like you can pay per lead as well, right?
No. Exactly. Yep. Exactly. So I think that's where it just makes it much easier to.
There's more volume there.
Yeah, there's more volume. Agreed.
Total deals by sources: direct mail, number 1 by about 200 or 400, I think. Cold calling, number 2. AdWords and PPC, number 3. Pay per lead, 4, barely behind AdWords.
Yeah.
I bet you it switches up next year. And then SMS blast. I didn't see this one coming.
I didn't either.
SMS blast number 5.
Some people are still using it. SMS blast. Yeah, the people are still. Yeah, but we've seen that number go down from last couple of years. It used to be like top 2, top 3, but it's definitely, as it's getting more and more challenging, people are switching away from that.
Then last 2, California coming in number 1. I tell everybody, after experiencing nationwide stuff, stick in California, spend a little bit more money, you're going to make more money, and you're going to have a less operationally heavy business. If you stay, and I think like the West Coast, and North Carolina is good too, because you don't have to have all this work going into selling these deals. Jason can post something on Instagram and it fucking sells in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And there were a couple of other states, I think a couple of states in New England area, Maine, and then Idaho that had higher average revenue, but again, we cut it at 50 deals. Like each of those areas must have had 50 deals. So there were some other states with higher profit average revenue, but again, like they didn't meet the criteria of minimum 50 deals.
And then states by total revenue: Texas number 1. There's a lot of investors in Texas, California, Florida, Ohio, North Carolina. Ohio just got a little bit more difficult with outlawing wholesaling yesterday.
Yeah, so it's getting more and more difficult in a lot of states. Yeah. So it's going to.
And then that's all.
Yeah, it's going to create more opportunities for experienced investors to come in and add more value.
All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Dean, put up our link so we can get credit for sending them to where. Guys, do not forget, if you are thinking about switching over, don't build a CRM, build a business. Go to Resimpli. Resimpli.com/deal champs. It is the number 1 CRM if you're a real estate investor ever. I swear by it. We've all spent thousands and thousands of dollars on other CRMs. This one is the one that works. I don't have to think about it. It's easy to use. It is number 1.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for all the support that you guys have given us over the year. Thank you. We would not be here if it were not for your support. I really mean that. So thank you.
I love it. Guys, cool. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. We'll see you next week. Thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Peace.